Hey guys, so as I get ready to go to work today, I want to bring up something that's really interesting. Now, we all know about Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out on WWE Raw this past Monday night, and basically more details have come out that they walked out not only before the show began, if not during the show, but also they walked out, according to various reports, at a time where Vince McMahon was in gorilla position and he didn't even know about them walking out until that moment or a little, into the show happening. And of course, this is why you had all the, shots taken at them for what they did. Now, a lot of people assume, and it has been reported that Roman's going to probably step in and cool off the situation and say, look, these guys have done a lot for you. Give them the respect they deserve, or hey, you might lose me, or something like that. I don't know. We'll see what goes from there. We'll see what happens, I should say. But what's interesting is more information that's come out. Now, there's no doubt there's a lot of men and women wrestlers in the company, if not outside of the company, that do stand up for what Sasha and Naomi did. And, that's great. Support your fellow employee, associate, wrestler, you name it. Support them as best you can and basically send the message of, hey, we're not going to deal with this BS anymore. And that's fine. I'm perfectly cool with something like that. However, there's also other reports going around that even though there's, a ton of, superstars in WWE that support this, obviously anonymously, if you will, and like I said, those without, from without the company, basically those in other promotions. Apparently, to conflict with that, there are also reports that, to counter those that are supporting Sasha and Naomi and what they did, there are those, if not more so than those that are supporting Naomi and Sasha, there are those that are not supporting them. Yeah, I know it's kind of a mouthful to get to, and I do apologize. But yeah, there are apparently reports going around, according to several other sources, including Wade Keller. That's right, Wade Keller of PWTorch, PWTorch, that has come out and said that in basically a counter of those that do show support for Naomi and Sasha and what they did, within the company, there are also others, if not more than others, that are not showing any sympathy. Yeah, they are showing no sympathy whatsoever. And you wonder to yourself, why would they not show any support? Why would they not show any sympathy for, what Naomi and Sasha stood up for? What happened? What's going on? And and obviously that's something we still have to look into, but my thought process on it is, I think, what a lot of these men, if not mostly the women that are not supporting what Sasha and Naomi did, are probably looking at is, hey, you two are getting too big for you. Okay, let me, hold on. So I almost got tongue-tied there. But I think, from my point of view, I think what's going on is some of the women there that are not showing support or sympathy, and even some of the male stars and other people within WWE that work behind the scenes and stuff, the way I think, in my opinion, that they're looking at the situation is they probably see Sasha and Naomi acting this way, and the first thought that goes to their mind is they let their egos get the best of them. That, Sasha is this, crossover multimedia star, if you will. Naomi is, of course, married, in real life to the bloodline, the wife of Jey Uso, if you will. And apparently that is enough, I guess, in the eyes of maybe some of the stars and those working behind the scenes and within the company to probably say, hey, you guys are letting your egos get the best of you. What you did was childish. You think you're better than us. You think you're bigger than us. Well, guess what? People might, there might be some here in the company that support you. There might be some outside of the company that support you, but guess what? The rest of us, we don't. We do not support you because what you did was childish and selfish, and you're letting your egos get out of control. And again, this goes back to my video I did yesterday where I asked the question that everybody's asking, why would WWE put out a statement during Raw and then take these shots and everything? Again, it's to make Sasha and Naomi look bad in the eyes of potential other employers, promoters, business partners, you name it. So by doing that, it's also not only, making them look bad, but it's sending a message apparently to the rest of the roster, across all 3-4 brands that, hey, when you sign a contract with us, you're not only verbally agreeing to do what we ask you to do, but you're also, by eyewitness account, signing your name to that agreement, stating that, hey, I am agreeing by putting my signature here on the contract to do what you asked me to do, to fulfill my obligations. And again, this is why I think they did that statement the way they did last night, because they're trying to not only, basically humiliate Sasha and Naomi, put them in their place, teach them a lesson, but also, like I said, to send a message to the rest of the roster that, hey, if you pull something like this as well in the future, we're not going to hesitate to do the same thing till you wake up and realize, we're not big. And because they use this saying many times, even in storyline, even on camera and storyline, they use the saying of no one is bigger than WWE. So in my opinion, when they put that statement out there live during Raw or after Raw, and then they took the shots that they did during Raw, that was their way of sending a message to not just Naomi and Sasha and potential, future business partners, suitors, employers, promoters that would like to obtain the services. But it's also sending a message to the roster that this is not going to be tolerated anymore because, hey, you signed an agreement, you signed a contract to do what we ask you to do, and you can't back up, and you can't basically back away from it, or, back up from it, if you will, kind of like change your mind, whenever you want. And again, this is why I think obviously there's not much sympathy from most of the other parties on the roster towards Sasha and Naomi, support, sympathy, as there is from other members of the roster, across all of WWE's 4 brands, as well as, like I said, those outside of the company working for other companies. I think this is why basically there is no support from those that I would assume the way that people describe it outnumber those that do support them, in the company. This is why I don't think there's much support, if you will, why the reports coming out by Wade Keller that there's not much sympathy going away from those within the company that outnumber those that do show sympathy and support, because, basically those that are not showing the sympathy are looking at the fact that Sasha and Naomi are basically breaching the contract, they're basically in violation of the contract, but also perhaps the fact that, again, as I said, in their opinion, maybe, just my point of view, my speculation, that maybe they're looking at the fact that Naomi and Sasha are letting their egos get out of hand because, they think they're better than everybody else and they should be treated better than everybody else. And, they just threw a tantrum. They just threw a hissy fit in a tantrum and walked out like, little babies, like little brats. But again, here's the thing. If the reports are to be believed, and a lot of them are apparently, Sasha and Naomi, they were like, look, if this is the direction you're going to put us in, that's fine, but don't use us as cannon fodder, just another, person to put in front of the likes of Bianca and Ronda so they could just mow us over and then move on and then do nothing with us or have nothing in store for us afterwards. To me, the one I'm sensing is, they're basically saying, hey, you want us to do the JOB to these guys, not a problem, But if we have to be in a program with them, at least give us a long-term program, or at least something that goes to maybe, let's say, SummerSlam, and that's it. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And here's the thing, too. A lot of people say that the women's tag team titles, shouldn't even be around anymore. Like, people at first were clamoring for them, and that's great, because they had a lot of women on the roster. You need something for the women to do. Well, times have changed in the short amount of time they've been around. And now you don't have many women on the roster to do that. So, my thought process is this. If you're not going to make the tag titles mean anything, or at least stand up for what they originally were meant to be for, and that's being defended across all three, if not all four brands, then just get rid of them. Just get rid of those tag team titles and move on, if you're not going to do anything with them. Just get rid of them. Because if you're going to keep those titles around, then put them on people that are not going to be, or put them on women, I should say, that are not going to be in the main event scene as much as, let's say, a Sasha and Naomi. Because if you put them on a Sasha and Naomi, yeah, they'll be glad to be the champs and everything and have something to do. But if you're going to put, the titles on them, but then also by extension, put them in a situation to where, they're going to basically be, used as cannon fodder for potential, for potential other champions, like let's say a Ronda, like let's say, a Bianca. They're just going to be used as cannon fodder and then placed back where they were with nothing else to do. Then maybe putting the belts on them at WrestleMania or any other event may have not been the best idea. I mean, yeah, they bit the bullet and, accepted the change in plans and all that, and that's fine. But I think, obviously, if you were going to put them in this position, then maybe you shouldn't have put the belts on them so soon. My assumption is if you're going to put the belts on Naomi and Sasha, wait till after Mania and wait till after the program with Ronda and Bianca, separate programs. Wait till those are done, then put the belts on them, because that way you would have gotten those other programs that you had planned for them out of the way. So, yeah, one could understand, where they're coming from. Like, this, doesn't make sense. Like, what are you're just going to have us sitting around doing nothing? So, yeah, the situation between them and WWE is one of, just, again, people are just, wondering what's going to be the next in this drama, if you know what I mean. People are wondering, what's the next chapter in this dramatic, well, I wouldn't say dramatic situation, but the situation that's gotten everybody talking. And again, it does kind of, make people wonder, okay, why is everybody talking about this? Is this a work? And again, there's a lot of evidence, that supports the fact that it's not, but there's also a lot of evidence that supports the fact that it is. So, it's one of those situations where it's kind of like, you don't know who to believe right now, but right now the more reliable and believable sources out there are the ones to believe. But again, to hear that, none of the women, or even some of the men, are not showing any sympathy towards Sasha and Naomi, maybe except for, a few, or not a few, but several, including even, their own family members, like, Jay and Jimmy and Roman, to hear that not everybody else is, sharing the same support towards them, yeah, it is a bit of a surprise, if you will, but then again, they're touting the company line and everything, and they'll be putting in these high-profile situations as far as, like, let's say the divisions are concerned. Of course they're not going to, be as supportive as you think they should be. But, again, it's just, one of those situations. It's just one of those situations to where hopefully in the end, cooler heads prevail. And I think they will. I think cooler heads, will prevail. But we'll have to see how long that's going to be. I mean, Naomi, I think will be the first out of the two to maybe let cooler heads prevail and make her way back. But Sasha, on the other hand, is another story. And again, as people point out, it's not the first time she's walked out of WWE upset, because of her, lack of positioning. It's not the first time, and it probably won't be the last, but WWE is the kind that recognizes, as much as we hate to admit it, is the kind of company to recognize the value of someone like a Sasha Banks and what they bring to their table, and to the table, I should say, what they bring to the table and what they bring, to the table for the company specifically. But again, hopefully cooler heads prevail, and hopefully we'll get a positive update before this week is out, maybe before SmackDown, to see what happens. But yeah, WWE, a lot of people are saying this is exposing them even more so than ever. And I'll tell you this right now, if I'm Vince McMahon, I may not look at it like a big deal, but if I'm Vince McMahon, I will take the advice of others, like let's say a newly acquired Cody Rhodes, and probably ask, okay, what can or even talk to a Roman and maybe say, okay, fine, they want this, fine, I'll do it, but they better not drop the ball or something like that. I don't know. But if I'm Vince McMahon, I worry. I start worrying, and at his age, just like some people suggest with my mom, at his age, especially with his job, which is more crazy than my mom's job, I might start considering stepping down and handing the reins over to someone else, like Stephanie or Shane or Hunter, if you know what I mean. But let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the fact that a majority of the roster, more so than those that do show support and sympathy towards Banks and Naomi, let me know what your thoughts are on the reports that Wade Keller has put out, stating that a majority of the roster, well, not a majority, but basically, I would say 60% of the roster doesn't share the same sympathy and support that others do. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Live chat during the video. Super chats and super stickers are open. It would be appreciated. Also check me out at Venmo at Brian-Warmer-2 and a Cash App at BWRS98. And you can help support me with the super thanks button during the video after it premieres to support me there as well. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. I got to get ready to leave now to get to work. I got to punch my ticket for the bus to get on the bus to go to work. And I will talk to y'all later. But let me know what your thoughts are.